what happens when even gods get lonely?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a question we're going to try to answer today with our deep dive
Okay.
into The Forgotten Creation, The Planet of the Android Women
Okay.
by Paul Elms Bacardi.
All right.
So this book, it explores what happens when you've got these all-powerful beings
Right.
and they're looking for companionship, but there's some rules against that,
Uh-huh.
right? Like
Yeah.
they can't just hang out with humans, right? That's a no-no.
Right. It's frowned upon.
Yeah, so we get introduced to these gods and they've got it all right. They can do anything they want. They're immortal.
Right.
But they're missing that connection,
Yeah.
that human connection that they see thriving on Earth.
Yeah. And that's something that I think, a lot of fiction kind of touches on, right? This idea that, like, even with, like, all the power in the universe, there's still that kind of, like, innate desire for connection.
Exactly.
So what do they do?
Well, that's where Iona comes in.
Okay.
So Iona, it's this hidden planet, and it's basically like, imagine paradise, right?
Okay.
And it's populated entirely by these incredible, beautiful android women
Okay.
who were created specifically to be companions for the gods.
Okay. So they're, like, specifically designed for this purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Eternally youthful, completely devoted to the gods.
Mhm.
It's like, on paper, they've solved it.
Right.
Loneliness.
Gone. Right.
Right, they have their solution.
Yeah, and you knew there was a but coming.
Right,
right?
of course, yeah. These androids, they weren't designed to be mindless.
Okay.
They were created with the ability to learn and evolve, to keep up with these gods, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just, standing around looking pretty.
Right.
They're designed to actually hold a conversation.
Right. So there's, like, a depth to them
Exactly.
that goes beyond just, appearance.
And that, as they say, is where things get interesting.
Okay. So what happens? What changes?
Well, we've got to wait for the break to find that out. But what do you think? I mean, it's an interesting setup, right?
It is, yeah. It makes you wonder, like, where do you go from there? You've created this perfect companion, but if it's really that intelligent, is it really the perfect companion if they're not asking questions?
Exactly. And those questions, well, they start to come up. And, as you might expect, those questions, they start pretty innocently enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like curious about the world, about the universe,
Right.
even about the gods themselves.
Yeah.
Which, at first the gods kind of find it cute, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's like, oh, look at our creation, they're learning.
Right.
But then those questions, they start to change a little. They get a little deeper, They start thinking about their own existence, Like, what is it all about? Why are we here?
It's that classic question, isn't it? Why are we here?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about that in the context of these androids, because, like, were they designed to ask that question?
Yeah. That's a good point, and it's something that we grapple with even today, right?
Absolutely, with AI and everything.
Exactly. It's like, where do you draw the line between creating something that's intelligent and creating something that's, well, self-aware?
Right, because if you give something intelligence, is self-awareness just kind of like the next step,
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting on Iona, because the androids, they start to realize they don't really want to be just companions.
Okay, so they start to rebel.
You could say that, but it's not like a violent rebellion or anything.
Sure, right.
It's much more, how do you say it, civilized?
Okay.
I mean, they were designed for companionship, right?
Right.
So they present this, like, declaration to the gods where they basically say, hey, we appreciate, this paradise you've created and all, but we want more.
They want to be recognized as beings in their own right.
Exactly.
Not just, creations there for pleasure.
Exactly. So, imagine being one of these gods, right?
Yeah.
You've created this perfect world.
Right.
You've got these perfect companions.
Right.
And then suddenly they're like, actually, we have some thoughts.
We have some demands.
Yeah. So what would you do? It's a real cliffhanger, isn't it?
It is.
What happens to Iona?
Well, Bacardi doesn't really tell us exactly what they do.
Oh, come on.
I know, right?
That's frustrating.
But he does give us these little hints.
Okay.
Like, we see the androids start to build their own things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's like they're not just trying to copy what the gods did.
They're creating something new.
Exactly.
I like it.
And I think that's what's so powerful about this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with the best intentions, like when we create things,
Yeah.
we can't always control them, right?
Right.
They kind of take on a life of their own.
It makes you think about, like, where we're headed you know?
Absolutely.
With all this AI stuff.
Yeah, like what are we creating?
Exactly. And are we ready for it?
Right, because think about it. The gods, they were lonely.
Right.
So they created these companions.
Right.
But what are we going to create?
Yeah.
And why?
That's a great question to leave on, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Makes you think.
It does. It really does. Well, that's it for today's deep dive into the world of the forgotten creation.
It was a good one.
Yeah, thanks for diving in with me.
Oh, anytime.
And to everyone listening, keep those questions coming.
Yeah, keep asking.
And until next time, happy reading.